Okay, so I did a couple of shorts about the What's Your Impact campaign, and I wanted to do a quick live to talk about some of the points. If you guys are content creators, I highly suggest you jump on board with the campaigning for positivity and positive causes, impacts, and long-lasting effects on society, yourselves, and your audiences. So that's the main message of What's Your Impact. And GoPro Solo is my brand that has evolved over the course of the past 10 years and taken many different directions to finally kind of find its place in, I don't want to call it online coaching, more like leadership and directives for my own best intentions, best efforts, and acknowledgement of my impact with my content, what it's been, what I want it to be, and where it's going. So with so many, we've discussed this before, with so many of the world star style of content creators that are out there, and so many, such a large audience for that type of content, we really have to decide, no matter what our niche is and no matter what type of content we're choosing to film, how to weigh that out and balance that out with what the world needs. So not just what we enjoy creating and what we think is fun to share, but really what our audience needs to see. The main thing that I have noticed is that when we talk about bullying, when I was in school, if you were getting bullied, you could get bullied by one or maybe two people, and that would be a bad day, and you would come home and internalize or deal with it, in whatever your coping way was. Now we're talking about bullying to scale, where children, if they're getting bullied at school and online, can be, facing thousands or more of really antagonistic, pessimistic, sometimes even physically assaulting types of behaviors. So everyone, at this early age wants to be cool and wants to be socially accepted. And so they're looking to content creators and people with any sort of following, for guidance. And they're not saying, please guide me. They're telling you that they want your guidance when they click the follow button. When they subscribe to your content, they're telling you that they want your guidance, that they look up to you, that they, are looking to you for advice, that they think you are an admirable person or a cool person, or whatever their reason is. As soon as they click that subscribe or like button, you have to understand that you've now taken on the responsibility of being a leader and quite literally an influencer over this person. And this person has, an effect on other people, who have an effect on other people, who have an effect on other people, and then it's the butterfly effect. But a couple of the points I wanted to make were, everyone should be obviously promoting happiness, prosperity, freedom, fun, encouragement, compassion. But there's also going to be times when we see people who are struggling, and we see that through cries for help in their content. I brought up in conversation with someone maybe 40, 30 years ago, Tupac made a song called Changes. And I, in my own hobbies and just studies, I really enjoy learning. I thoroughly enjoy it. And in studying lyrics, I have noticed that there are many, 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 many occasions where, especially in hip hop and rap music, where it feels like the author, the rapper, the lyricist, the writer, the director, the producer, or that group as a whole is reaching out for help through their art. Their medium is their music. And there are so many lyrics in that song Changes that just go to show you what we need, what we have been asked for, what we've been asked of ourselves, of our leadership, of our government. They say that the war is on poverty, and we truly have been shielded, in my generation especially, from understanding that. I know that I was raised to believe that you're bad if you go to jail, and that you're bad if you engage in behaviors that are not morally and ethically responsible. We have not been incentivized to learn about what causes those behaviors. We have not been offered information about why people need, quite literally, to engage in those types of behaviors. So when I'm asking what's your impact and what's your social impact, and what kind of content are you creating, what I'm really asking is, are you aware of the status of the entire world, as a whole, and what our real problems are? And if you answer yes, then make sure that the content that you're creating, mostly, or at least, some of, has the end goal in mind of bringing awareness to, or happiness to, or change to, a certain topic. I myself have been going through various, I don't want to call them simulations, but they feel very much like simulations of the struggle that many have faced living in situations of poverty, drug addiction, government intervention and control, not having a lawyer and being faced with charges that you didn't commit, or accusations that you didn't, that are not true. And I feel like in going through that, the world is kind of crying out for solutions, and the internet is the way that those problems can come to light in a scale, quantity. Before, it would be like, oh my God, I just made this realization that this is going on, that people are being falsely convicted, that there's, inequities in the system. Maybe I could tell 5 or 10 people, in a few months. But with the internet, we can reach thousands, and we have to find creative ways of acknowledging the struggle that others have had, and also being proactive in solutions to those struggles. I think that I and others who choose to create morally and ethically sound content, or document, adversities, have traditionally been met with adversity, ourselves, for speaking out. I don't think that's a good enough reason to stop speaking out. So I think that we should reframe, and rather than saying in a blaming sort of way, you did this, you did that, what did you do? Why would you do that? It's better to say, what is your impact? And I really feel like asking that question repetitively, and asking that question in different ways, in plain English, like I just did, or whatever language, your audience is speaking, but also in art. So, I did have a post here. It was a post that I originally made on TikTok, where I'm wearing, or the model is wearing, like this really kind of soft feminine skirt and holding a flower, and her hair is just kind of billowing in the wind, very carefree, very lighthearted and wholesome kind of looking. And then the last of the photos is like a zoom in on this person's body, and there was like some self-mutilation or like scratches. And any kind of way that we can raise awareness for these types of problems, for the most part, people in the world are not sad, depressed, crazy, or, bipolar, or having personality disorders, or, adverse to compassion, unless they have been, mislabeled, misdiagnosed, and beaten into those labels. And to kind of go into that deeper, when someone is being mistreated and they start to lose their ability to articulate what's going on, and they start to lose faith and they start to feel unseen and unheard, that's when we start receiving, as society as a whole starts receiving, the negative blowback of that. The outbursts in the street, the physical fighting, the attacks on people, the robberies, the smash and grabs, the, in the downtown area. I was out here in downtown Chicago during the BLM protesting of 2020, and there were coordinated attacks on businesses, on people, on vehicles, et cetera, and so forth. The reason for that is not because people were sitting around living fantastic lifestyles. The reason for that is because people were coming from a place of lack. They were coming from a place of not having enough, opportunity, enough money, enough access, enough education. So we have to really, in the content that we're creating, not only create opportunities for bridging those gaps and filling in that lack with abundance, but also for kind of lifting the collective vibration and changing the energy, with happiness, with laughter, with excitement, with education. Coursera is offering a free application that offers a plethora of free courses that could bring a lot of job security for people who need it. Also courses that could guide our graduating classes into their next steps. A huge thing that I've told my daughter, I have a 17-year-old daughter who graduates this year, and I've told her, do not rush into signing a bunch of, FAFSA, taking out a bunch of student loans and putting yourself into a tremendous amount of debt before you're ready and you know what you want to do with your life. And this is important for everyone. A course like Coursera, there are doctorate educators who are offering courses from universities, four-year universities, very credible universities, and this is opening doors and for opportunity to people who would have never had this access before. You don't need to have prerequisites. I don't even think you need to be a high school graduate to enroll in these style of courses. So when we're offering any product, service, content creation, team building exercises, fundraisers, employment opportunities, at the end of the day, I just really want to stress the importance of this campaign, what's your impact? And I'm one of many, many, many people who have used that phrase, what is your impact, to promote the awareness of and responsibility associated with being an influencer or speaking on a public platform where you have a large audience. Even if you only get 27 views, you don't know who those 27 views will be. Make sure that at some point in time, through your documenting or your niche, if you're a dancer or if you are, documenting adversity for people, make sure that the way that you're going about it is not with the intention of causing uproar, but with the intention of causing action for empowerment and for change and for, as I said, opportunity. And that's the best advice that I could give to anyone, is just take your time. I have learned, over the years, I've been creating content. This is my, I want to say, 7th or 8th complete set of channels, because I have moved around from niche to niche. I've rebranded. I've gone through things. I've documented things that I probably didn't want to share in hindsight. I've left things out that probably would have been beneficial. I'm learning like everyone else is, and I'm sharing everything that I'm learning as I go. And I think that that's all we can ask of each other. The internet is not that new, but it's still fairly new, and social media is incredibly new, and there's so much opportunity that it creates. But with opportunity and anything new, there's also a large window for abuse, for harassment, for hatred. And just like the positivity can be spread to scale, so can all of those other, negative things. So just a little bit about the Impact campaign. I really, really, really want to encourage everyone to create your own like 6 weeks of campaigning. I know that most content creators don't have digital teams, unless you're like a sponsored, very large content creator. You're usually either mostly your own content creation digital team, meaning you're creating your own agendas. You're thinking of your own ideas. You might hire someone for creative once you get really big, but if you're influencing, especially with organic influencing, and you're not, paying for views or getting paid for them, when you're at this early stage of growth, it's really, really important to plan out your content and make sure that you have a good schedule of topics. So GoPro Solo is doing 4 weeks of campaigning. We've already completed the first 4 weeks. I will post the schedule again. I've posted it a bunch of times on Instagram and also here. But when we are posting those schedules, it's not to tell you what to do with your brand. It's not to tell you what to do with your business. It's not to appear like I know more than you. It's just to hopefully inspire, someone or some groups of someone's, to maybe make one less post of someone getting hurt, falling down, breaking a limb, whatever, and maybe one more post about motivation or opportunity or encouragement. I know that just watching the motivating words across the screen can feed faith for sure, but even that gets boring and old and, almost tedious. We have so much of it. What I think the internet really needs are creative content creators and teams who are going to subliminally reprogram the minds of our youth in ways that will help future generations, in the future, and the world. What these kids see us doing, they think is cool. If you have 6 figures in your follower list, you are being idolized. Whether you understand that, like that, or intended to have that cause, that's what's going on. So these kids are looking up to you and what you're doing. If you're dancing around the world, that's fantastic. Just try to connect that to some worthy cause. There's this Surthy Cooks, SurthyCooks. This woman is incorporating language. She's speaking in multiple languages on her platforms. She is dressing in costumes on her platforms. She's incorporating makeup, fashion. She's incorporating family. She puts her children on sometimes. Pardon me. And she's cooking large quantities of meals and bringing them out to underserved populations on camera. And that's so, you've got a lot going on there. You've got cooking. She posts her recipes. You can follow along with them. You've got family. You've got morals, values, ethics. You've got makeup. You've got fashion. You've got all of this stuff rolled into one, and it's not just your traditional kind of, this too shall pass in some fancy font. So you're giving the motivation, you're giving the comfort, you're reaching the people, you're touching all these niches, and the outcome, I think, is tremendous. She's one of the best accounts I personally have found, and I've done some research on, morally sound and ethically worthy social media accounts. So Surthy Cooks, if you guys want to check that one out, it's a really good one. GoPro Solo is, I'm hoping, so I applied for EIN for GoPro Solo in 2018. And I was planning at the time to make it a company for profit. It was going to be an incorporation. I'm now trying to work out the details, to go towards the nonprofit path. I want to make GoPro Solo more of, not so much of an anti-bullying campaign as a awareness, coaching, kind of think tank for content creators and for anyone who finds, the content interesting. So that's where we're at with that. And as I said before, this is my 10th or maybe 8th, who knows, complete set of social medias. My social medias have been hacked, they have been removed, they have been sabotaged, they have been a wide range of harassment has come through my social medias. And I'm fairly certain that most of the rules and regulations that Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook have and YouTube have for harassment and bullying guidelines probably have all impacted me in one way or another, and has somehow helped with evolving their policies, because you name it and I have experienced it. So if we could just subliminally be making our messages clear and be making sure that our messages are well intended and well received, that's where I think our best efforts would be. I think that that's what we need to do, period. Lastly, I've talked about AI. I know very little about AI. I've taken an introduction to artificial intelligence course, and I've listened to several amazing speakers discuss AI. I've seen some things that I don't even know are really available to the public about AI, and I truly believe that AI is learning from humans. When we think of an AI like Siri, for instance, or Alexa, in the early generations of Alexa and Siri, you could say something to them and they would have no idea what you were talking about. And they would say, I'm sorry, or I don't understand, or something like that. Every time that data set increases, so every time a new person asks or we ask again, and the software evolves, it now understands what we mean when we say that thing that 10 generations ago of development, it never understood. So when I say that artificial intelligence is being programmed by human behavior, I really truly mean that, and I think that in itself is incredibly impactful. So thank you guys so much for being here. I just wanted to clarify on the What's Your Impact campaign. It's nothing specific. It's meant to be motivational for myself, for others, for anyone who wants to jump on board with that. And I will be posting the 4 weeks of campaigning. These are just my 4 weeks. I switch them up from time to time, but this is something I've been doing irregularly but repetitively for about 5-6 years now. And I invite you all to create your own campaigns and your own causes and campaign for them. So have a great night, you guys. Thank you for tuning in. I'm gonna jump off of here and make a few more shorts. I need to begin, very soon, collaborating, and the DM is open. I love to hear your guys' ideas and what you're thinking and your feedback, constructive as per the usual. I was really thinking Xavier and I were going to start randomly approaching people and asking them what they think when we ask the question, what's your impact? I think that might be some good content, and creating a bunch of shorts of just me randomly asking people what do they think about the sentence or phrase, what's your impact? And that would also be a good way to kind of get more buzz and more publicity and marketing towards this campaign and make it like a bigger deal. All right, you guys, have a good night.